The untold truth about tendering is that it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is not your way out of poverty. And tendering is certainly not a friend give me nigga. There's a nigga to it. That's not what tendering is all about. What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about the untold truth about tenders in South Africa. You know why I say this, right? There's a myth that just goes around that if you want to be successful, do tenders. If you don't know what you want to do in life and you need income, get into tenders. If you're someone that is just stuck and you think that the only way out of your poverty is through tenders, of course, to some extent, you might think that is true. Of course, to some extent, that might be true, might not be true. And I do want to challenge that narrative, though, that thought. Some people have done it, it has worked for them. Some people are doing it, it's not working for them. And as a young entrepreneur in South Africa, as a young person that is a startup, the first thing that comes to your head, or that comes to most people's minds, is tenders, and you run into a procurement profession, you say, hey, give me a tender. That's one of the popular, phrases that we hear quite often. And myself being in procurement, I've seen that quite a lot, right? Give me a tender, come in Lerato. You work with these things, man. You know people that know people. Why are you really like this? Give us, It's almost as if it's as simple as, oh, a tender came out, here's a tender. There you go. Wow, come take it. Also, tenders, I just want to correct this. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. Yes, I said that. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme because it's not a scheme after all. Guys, this is business. In fact, let's talk about what is a tender, right? A tender is a response to an invitation made by the client, and the supplier then responds with an offer to supply a service that which is requested. And also it is a competitive bidding. And the reason that is like that is because as a company, there are governance procedures that you follow. We are governed to, comply with policies, and the policies that say that if then there is a need and everyone else happened to give their friends, their family, their cousins tenders as it is expected or phrased, then what type of economy are we going to be having? I mean, it speaks to ethics, it speaks to a lot of procedures that is governed properly. So in the midst of all of these things, we still find people that don't understand what is tendering. Also, I also want to make mention, if you're then an entrepreneur, and as an entrepreneur, you feel like, oh, I actually want to get into tenders. I feel I need money. I need a startup. What is quick? What is also most often that is seen is getting into supply business. What can I supply? I just need to register my company as a general supplies. And then if the laptops needed, I then quote. If there is books needed, I then quote. If there is pens needed, I then quote. If there's a transformer equipment needed, I quote. And what then that means and what that comes with is a lot of irregularities in the process, because firstly, not everyone else is certified to procure and to perform the type of services. And then two, we still find errors and issues when people then submit tenders because they just don't understand why you're getting into tender space. It's not an industry. Tendering is not an industry. Let's get that right. No. If you thought tenders are an industry, that's not the case. Tendering is a way and a form of a response to an invitation to supply goods and services requested by the clients. It's not a particular, industry that exists. Without diverting, some of the issues that are still encountered when people submit tenders is, unassigned bids, incorrect schedules, incorrect formats, late submissions, missing information. Whenever people then, fill out the tender document and people don't sign some of the declarations, they don't indicate because there is very little, maybe less understanding of what this means. And now when procurement comes and says, hey, let's do your due diligence. What experience do you have? How many years of experience do you have? When was the company registered? Who is a shareholder? Do you have black women? Do you have youth that you've employed? Where is your workman's compensation? Where is your UIF? And then it becomes a bizarre type of conversation because all of a sudden people are like, what? Why did you need? It's because no one took time to understand why do we need these things. Firstly, as procurement, you cannot work with someone in an organization that you don't know whether they're qualified. They're probably operating a business in the back of their yard, and tomorrow a storm comes and hits, that office, and now as a client, there's no supply. Procurement manages risks, right? Supply risks, that is. And if there's no due diligence done, then you're putting a company at risk. And that's another thing, that which is not known. It's not just about I'm supplying pens, there you are, and then I'm done. Huh? If you then don't perform, what does it mean to the client? This is what entrepreneurs and business owners, let me just say, that I'm not privy to. And when you then demand and when you need it, let's put some SLAs in place. When are you going to deliver this by when? How do you measure your performance? How do you ensure that you're giving us the type of services that we need, the right type of services that we need? And it becomes such a bizarre type of conversation, and it becomes like, oh my God, why do you need all of these things? Oh, I just wanted us to supply. No, it's not just supply, and we say we need BEE certificate, and people don't know. Why? It's because there's less and less understanding. The untold truth about tendering is that it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is not your way out of poverty. And tendering is certainly not a friend give me nigga. Yeah, that's just the right way to put it. There's a nigga to it. That's not what tendering is all about. You are responding to an invitation sent out by the client to say, I want you to please help me get these services and these products. So, in the midst of, trying to curb poverty, trying to resolve our financial strain and issues, you find a lot of entrepreneurs falling into the trap of tenders industry, because then they're thinking that, this is easy. And they realize afterward that, oh my gosh, this is not easy. There's so many people that are tendering. If you're going to be submitting a response to a tender that was sent out by the public sector, right? If you're then submitting that quote or the RFP, think about 100 more people that are then responding to that. How are you competing and showing yourself different? How is your product and your service so unique that you need to be awarded that RFP? Of course, there's then the issues around corruption, and someone will say, hi, Lerato, they're lying. It's all about brown envelope. It's all about brown envelope. Don't tell us. I've heard people say that. And I mean, if everything else was about the brown envelope, would you honestly think all the billion-dollar companies on the JSE, on the stock exchange, have run their business giving each other brown envelopes? Think about businesses that have 50 years in experience, 100 years. We talk about the icon, the goats of the industries, banks, massive banks. Think about normal entrepreneurs that grew to make their name great. Richard Branson, for example. Do you think that all that which he's ever done in his life is to give people brown envelopes? The Chinese economy on its own. They've built a $1 billion economy. Do you think that the economy was just running on papers? Also, then let's talk about some of Bill Gates, right? The owner of Microsoft. The thing about entrepreneurs and business owners is every time you render a service, ask yourself this question: what solution am I providing? Business is all about solving a problem. Okay? What is the problem that exists in the market? Where is the gap in the market? How am I reproducing that? And through that, of course, then when you're tendering, I am providing a solution. I'm qualified. I've done all of these compliance requirements, and I know that I'm going to get this. Also, there's research on pricing. Pricing doesn't just entail, you see that there's this tender, and now because you are so hungry and thirsty to be rich with one tender, but maybe then you're going to quote 50% profit margin of something that your own operational cost when you bought that was probably 100,000. Think about it, from 100K from my suppliers, now I'm providing a response, and then I'm pricing it 2 million. You see, you'll make the calculations. And those are the things that fail some of the entrepreneurs and business owners, because they don't understand how tenders work, the need for even having a tender, responding to it. It is the untold truth, because no one talks about it. You are told as you grow up that If you don't have any job, get into supply tenders. If you don't get this, and I'm not saying it's wrong, of course you can then thrive in that. We've seen other people that, it has worked for them, but they probably are also have a proper, strong brand message. There's a strong business model that which has worked for them. I mean, you do find companies that do a differentiation strategy, cost leadership strategy, but many of the entrepreneurs and startups don't even check that what type of business am I providing? Am I someone that then does offer a particular service at a low cost, or I just differentiate, and I just do anything and everything? But if that's the case, have you thought about how 10 years looks like for you? Have you thought about how 20 years looks like for you? And this is just some of the false fallacies about tendering, Due to these reasons and desperation to thrive, into getting money, into being rich, into getting out of poverty, you find a lot of corruption that exists, where people then think, the easy way out is the quick way. And the quick way, you find that, corruption today has increased so dramatically due to sometimes business owners not understanding that which they're doing. There's a report that is done by the Corruption Watch, shockingly so. The city of Johannesburg and Tshwane in Gauteng reports a number of corruptions that has been reported. 61 reports have been issued in 2019, whereby there has been such a tremendous corruption in terms of how the process was followed, and who approved the tenders, and the number of goods and services that has been procured, and of course in irregular expenditure. That's why you find massive irregular expenditure in the tendering, purely because people don't understand what are the needs and requirements, right? And in essence, some of the also corruption activity that exists is failure to make bidding documents available, short or inadequate notice to bidders, collusive bidding, you understand, manipulation of bids. In fact, procurement has many ways whereby corruption can be reported, and through bribery. You find that pretty often when people just want what they want, and they're willing to take out whatever money, which then contributes to even further poverty, to even the cycle of corrupt country, where someone can pay a mayor, can pay a buyer, they're willing to take their life just to get that tender. My question is it really worth it? Were you born to do this? When you started the business, is that all that you thought about? There's also a thing called bid rigging, It takes place when a company conspires to fix the price for goods and services purchased through, the bidding process. And we often see this happen, whether through professionals or even the bidders themselves. There's manipulation of bids, you understand? There's unbalanced bidding. There's a whole lot more that we can mention, all in the name of, I want to get rich. I want to be better in life. But is that sustainable? That's a question you must ask yourself. Can you sustain waking up to pay bids? Can you wake up every day, sustain yourself to be giving bribes? You employ people in the sphere and the drive of uplifting the economical growth, and at the time you cannot pay those bids, then businesses fall down. So it is a fallacy after all. Is it really something that can maintain the business, whereby we live in such organizations and people don't understand, thinking that the only way to succeed is through brown envelope? Of course, I'll leave that question to you to answer, because ultimately all we want is to succeed and to thrive in life. And how that then is done is what type of economy we're building, what type of society are we becoming, what type of business spheres are we building as an economy, and as a country, and also a continent globally, how are we projecting and seeing? So for me, it's not to even say, stop this, don't do that, or do that. It is upon you as a business owner to decide on how you want to run the business. But all I can say is there's never a company built to last for 50 years, 100 years, even 200 years. That was all done in corruption. That all ran on brown envelopes. Just to talk to business owners, startups that really want to thrive in business, that really want that kickstart, is research and understand why you do what you do. What problem are you solving? What are the requirements needed for this type of service that I'm providing in my niche? People ask you till this day, Lerato, why do you need BE? And this is a business owner in South Africa. Black economic empowerment was long established in about 2006, if I'm not mistaken, early there. So if you don't understand what are the requirements of a simple BEE certificate and what it does for you and what it means, why the point system, what are the preferential point system that speaks to that, the ownership that speaks to that, the enterprise development that speaks to that, it's then still a concern that you don't understand why the tendering. So all I wanted to say today is tenders are not an industry. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not, I don't know what to do, I'm stuck, therefore let me go for tenders. No, of course you can explore that, but you need more than that to sustain yourself. Also, when then the business is built, then there's less understanding of how to manage the company finances. And you get a 10 million rand tender, and that's why till today, some people don't understand these fundamentals, then can go blow the 10 million rand and buy a Range Rover, buy a house, and forget that, the profit margin that you made on that 10 million rand tender is not all that it is. After 3 years, the contract is ended. You don't know what to do. You're back to square one where you started. It's because there's no business acumen, and at the same time there's no sustainable business competitive analysis. How are you showing up as competitive, compared to your, of course, the competitors at the time? Competition grows. People then, establish other businesses. The client might not even renew their contract, and that's why we find, a lot of business entrepreneurs and owners into the web and the cycle, of I got this today, in 5 years it's gone, I'm back to square one. It's because no business acumen exists there. There's no understanding of how you position yourself as a competitive advantage, understanding of the nature of a business. The nature of business run through tenders, is run through solving business problems and the solution that which the customer needs. Okay, so without going any further, I just want to say thank you for watching this video. I hope it has empowered someone. I hope it has opened the eyes of someone. And I'm grateful that I have this opportunity today to share on this topic that is very unpopular. And I want to help someone else out there. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this video. Please do like, share, and of course subscribe to my channel. Until we chat again soon. Thanks, guys.